Okay. All right. Thank you all for coming. Oh, Brother Rahman. What a nice surprise. Jayo Radha Madhava Kundabi Hakti Jayo Radha Madhava Kundabi Hakti Gopi Janabalabha Hirivarudakti Gopi Janabalabha Hirivarudakti Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Banachade Munatera Manachagate Jayarandhu Matava Kunjabikate Jayarandhu Umadhova Kunjabikate Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhate Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhate Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachade Yamuna Tera Vanachade Jayarandhu Madhava Kunjabikate Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabikate Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jaya Jaya Baladev, 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 Baladev. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravatikacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace. Abhaya Chalananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nantagoti Vaishnav, Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas, Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayama Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Machuradam Ki Jai, Jagadada Sami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Janamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nivashesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Dejatarani. So, happy Balaram Purnima to everybody. And so this evening we're going to be speaking a little bit about Lord Balaram. This morning we had a PowerPoint. I was thinking whether to use that same PowerPoint again, but I thought, no, let me just try to do it without a PowerPoint tonight. So we're going to start with reciting this very wonderful poem that's from the Garga Samhita about Lord Balaram. And this poem was actually spoken, as mentioned here, by the great sage Pradvipaka to Duryodhana. And this is very interesting. These are not Duryodhana's prayers that he wrote. Sometimes people portray them like that. But Duryodhana wanted to worship Balaram. And there's a very interesting reason why Duryodhana wanted to worship Balaram and why Duryodhana Duryodhana wanted to convince Balaram to allow him to marry his sister Subhadra. And this involves political intrigue, because Duryodhana had all sorts of bad qualities. So his motivation was definitely not, oh, let me worship the great Balaram and give my love to Balaram, which is not the same as Anyavi Lashata Shunyam Yana Karma Navratam Anukuyena Krishnana Shilanam. The goal of Krishna consciousness, according to Srila Rupa Goswami, is to serve Krishna according to the way he wants to be served, with the right motive to please Krishna, without any personal, self-centered, gross or subtle motives. So Duryodhana's motive was quite political. But still, the prayer is wonderful. So that's why we cite this particular prayer from the Garga Samhita. So I guess, I don't know if we can all read the Sanskrit together, but at least we can try. So text 1. Duryodhana huvacha stotram shri baladevasya pradvipaka mahamune vadamam kripaya sakshat sarvasiddhi pradayakam. Duryodhana said, "Oh, Pradvipaka, O great sage, please kindly tell me the prayer of Lord Balaram, which grants all perfection." And the second one is also introductory. Shri Pradvipaka Uvacha Stava Rajam Duramasya Eda Vyasa Kritam Srivam Sarva Siddhi Pradam Rajan Shunu Kaival Yatam Rinam. Sri Pradvipaka Muni said, "O king, please hear the regal and beautiful prayer of Lord Balaram, a prayer that brings liberation and all perfection." And text 3. So here prayers actually begin. Devadi Deva Bhagavan Kama Pala Namostute Namo Nantaya Sheshaya Sakshad Ramaya Te Namaha. O Master of the demigods, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Fulfiller of desires, obeisances to you. O Lord Ananta Shesha, obeisances to you. O Lord Balaram, obeisances unto you, or to you. Next text. Dharattaraya Purnaya Swamdamne Shirapanaye Sahasra Shirase Nityam Nama Sankarshanaya Te. O Lord who maintains the earth, O glorious Lord, O perfect and complete Lord, O Lord who holds a plow in your hand, O Lord who has 1,000 heads, O Lord Sankarshana, eternal obeisances to you. So we'll be explaining why these designations are there in a few minutes for Lord Balaram. Next one. Rivati Ramanathvam Vai Balave Ajichuta Graja Halayuda Palambagna Panikam Pushottamam. O husband of Revati, O Lord Balaram, O elder brother of Lord Krishna, O Lord who holds a plow weapon, O killer of Palambasura, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, please protect me. Balaya Balabhadraya Talankaya Namo Namaha Nilambaraya Goraya Rogineyayate Namaha. O Lord Balaram, who carries a palm tree flag, obeisances to you. O son of Rohini, O fair complexion Lord dressed in blue garments, obeisances to you. Okay. Denukari Mustikari Kutari Bandaka Rupyari Kupakarnari Kumbandari Swamevaki. You are the enemy of Dhanuka, the enemy of Mushtaka, that's the wrestler, of course, the enemy of Kuta, killer of Bhavala, the enemy of Rukmi, the enemy of Kupa, Kupakarna. I should explain who Kupakarna and Kuta are, because you're not going to know this. And the enemy of Kubanda. So these are some of the people who were fighting with Balaram when Balaram and Krishna were fighting with Banasura. These are some, and actually these are some of the associates of the demigods too, because when Balaram and Krishna were fighting with Banasura, because Banasura had kidnapped Aniruddha. We can tell that story real quickly. Then once upon a time, Banasura, who was the great-grandson of who? Does anyone know? Prahlad Maharaj. And the son of who? Bali Maharaj. So Banasura had a daughter. And his daughter's name was Usha. And she was very, very beautiful. And as was the case in those days, the girls were protected and not allowed to see any men, other than their father, of course, and some of the elderly members of their family. But she had a dream. And in that dream, she saw a very handsome young man. And she was engaged in romantic affairs with that handsome young man. And she woke up from the dream and started crying. And she told her friend Chitra Lekha about that dream. And Chitra Lekha said, well, it must be a real boy since you've never really met a boy. So it must be someone who we can find. So Chitra Lekha was very expert. And she was not only an artist, but she was a mystic yogini, and she knew basically all the great eligible men in the universe, how they looked. And so she began to draw pictures of all the eligible men. There was like a whole photographic album. And she showed this photographic album to Usha. And Usha kept looking. She saw Krishna. Pretty close. Pretty close. Prajuna? Closer. Aniruddha, that's him. So what happened is that Chitra Lekha was employed in kidnapping Aniruddha. And so he just disappeared from the palace. And so he was staying with Usha for some time until it was discovered that she was, anyway, like nowadays, with her boyfriend. And so her father got very upset, to make a long story short, and he started to fight with Aniruddha and eventually was able to capture Aniruddha. And therefore the Yadu dynasty had to come to rescue Aniruddha. And so there was a fight because, Banasura had all of these arms. He had 1,000 arms. And so it was a big fight. And, the demigods were helping Banasura. And so these are some of the demons that were killed by Balaram in this fight. So you may not be familiar with those names. So next one. Kalindi Bedano Sichuang Hastina Karishika Dvidwa Darir Yadavendro Raja Mandala Mandana. You are the Lord who broke the Yamuna and dragged Hastinapur. You are the enemy of Dvidvita. You are the king of the Yadavas. You are the ornament of Braja's circle. Kamsa Bratir Prahankasi Tirtha Yatra Kara Prabhu Duryodhana Guru Sakshat Pahi Pahi Prabhu Dvija. You are the killer of Kamsa's brothers. You are the supreme master, the Lord who went on pilgrimage, and Duryodhana's guru. Oh, master, please protect me. Please protect me. Jaya Jaya Chuta Deva Parat Para Swayam Ananta Diganta Gata Shuta Sura Munindra Panindra Charayate Mushaline Balane Halane Namaha. O infallible Lord, greater than the greatest, O Lord, whose glories are heard in all directions without limit, glory to you, glory to you. O Lord, served by the demigods, the king of the sages, and the king of the serpents. O powerful Lord, who holds a plow and a club, obeisances to you. And now, text 11. Ya patet satatam stan vanam nada satu hare paramam panama vrajet jagati sarva balam sware mardanam bhavati tashadanam swajanam danam. A person who regularly recites this prayer attains Lord Hari's transcendental abode. All the strength in the universe is his. He crushes his enemies. He attains great wealth and a great dynasty. So that's the Shruti Pala. That means the benedictions of hearing. So now we'll speak. Let me turn this off. We will speak about Balaram. Okay. First thing when we talk about Balaram, we're going to elaborate on who he is. And of course, we understand he's the brother of Krishna, but what does that mean exactly? Of course, who is Krishna? Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original source of all incarnations, or all avatars, or all expansions. And there's different types of expansions that Krishna has. There's what we call Swamsa, and there's Vivinamsa. Swamsa expansion is what we call Vishnu Tattva. Vivinamsa is what we call Jiva Tattva. So very important to understand this distinction. So all the Vishnu Tattva expansion, the Swamsa expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are actually non-different from him. And as is this verse goes that I oftentimes quote, Advaita Chuta Nadi Rupam Adyam Prana Purusham Naviyovaram Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Atma Bhakto Govindamana Purisham Tamaham Bhajami. There, Advaita, there is one God. We're talking about Swamsa, not Vivinamsa right now. There's one God, Advaita, Achyuta, and that one God is infallible. Infallible means never comes under the jurisdiction of the material energy. Like Krishna describes in the Gita, there's two classes of living entities. There's the fallible and the infallible. And amongst the infallible, Krishna is the supreme infallible. So, Achyuta Ananta Rupam, there's unlimited forms. And of course, these different expansions of Krishna, or forms, or Swamsa, expansions of Krishna, they're all coming originally from Krishna, and they're all the same person as Krishna, acting in different capacities. As Prabhupada would explain, that a man going to the office is the same as the man who is at home, but he is acting in a different capacity when he's home than he's in the office. And the complete understanding, or the fullest understanding of the man, is at home. So Krishna is the complete understanding, the absolute complete understanding of God, and the other expansions are partial understandings of the same person. And all these expansions, avatars, can be enact their pastimes simultaneously. Now, as far as the expansion of the avatars, there's what we call the Chaturvyuha manifestations. This is how the avatars choose to expand. Chaturvyuha means the four, and generally that's expressed as Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. But in the original Chaturvyuha expansions, that is Krishna, Balaram. You understand? Those are the first two. Vasudeva, Sankarshan, and Aniruddha. So, anyway, so Balaram is the first expansion of Krishna. And whenever avatars appear in this world, they appear in this particular fashion. For example, when Lord Ram appeared millions of years ago, you had Ram, who is Vasudeva, and then Lakshman, Vasudeva Sankarshan, again, like Balaram, Pradyumna, and Bharat and Shatrughna. So these four. But the interesting thing is that when Ram appeared millions of years ago, we have Lakshman appearing as his younger brother. Very, very interesting. And the reason for this is that generally, not generally, but always, the expansions from Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, they serve the Vasudeva expansion. So it's like Lakshman was serving, and so there, and it's more appropriate, like in the case of Lord Ramchandra, for the expansions to be younger than Lord Ramchandra, because you have this Vedic conception. Of course, in the Western world, we don't follow that particular understanding, that the younger brother has to serve the older brother. The younger brother has to wait until the older brother gets married before he can get married. So, but this is the etiquette. So in the case of Lord Ram being served by Lakshman, we find that practically at the end of the pastimes, after they had come back to Ayodhya, Ram offers Lakshman a benediction, because you have served me so nicely throughout all these years. Throughout all these years, you have not even slept. That's amazing, isn't it? Because Lakshman took a vow not to sleep for all those years in order to guard and protect Lord Ram. And so because of that, ask for anything you want. And Lakshman was actually quite determined not to take birth again as Ram's younger brother. Because he was very upset with many of the things that Ram had asked him to do, such as putting Sita into the fire to test Sita Devi. Of course, we understand the real Sita never went into the fire. It was Maya Sita. And such as dropping Sita off at the ashram of Valmiki Muni. So we thought, I just want to be your older brother, so you'll have to listen to me from now on. And so he was thinking, this is actually going to be good for me. But little did he understand that when he appeared as Balaram, although Krishna sometimes observed the etiquette externally, in reality, Krishna did whatever he wanted, and he followed the procedure of doing whatever I want and asking for forgiveness later on. Right? Isn't that something that we have learned quite nicely? You do what you want to do and then ask for forgiveness for having done it later on. So I'll give you an example of that. The example of that is when Balaram, we mentioned before when we were reciting these prayers that Balaram was buttered up by Duryodhana. In other words, Duryodhana was always praying to him and everything like that, with the intention, ulterior motive, that Balaram would be able to marry Subhadra. And the reason Balaram wanted to marry Subhadra was, I mean, not Balaram marry Subhadra, that Duryodhana would marry Subhadra. That Duryodhana would marry Subhadra was that, not that Duryodhana was so much interested in Subhadra per se, but Duryodhana was interested in forming an alliance with the Yadus so that Krishna would take his side and not fight against him and not take Arjuna's side. So this was actually the motivation. So in order to do that, Duryodhana accepted Balaram as his martial arts teacher, and he learned club fighting from him. Actually, incidentally, Prabhupada said also Bhimsen learned club fighting from Balaram. So they both were disciples of Balaram. So in any case, so he begged Balaram for the blessing that he could marry Subhadra. And Balaram said, okay, I promise you this. Now, promises taken as very important in Vedic culture. And even though the rest of the family was against it, Balaram pressed it because he was the elder brother. So it was actually part of the culture at that particular time. The elder brother was insisting, even though Vasudeva was not really in favor of it. So still. So Krishna was thinking how to circumvent this particular arrangement. And so he arranged, Krishna has all these interesting ways of arranging things. First of all, he arranged that Arjuna would go on pilgrimage. Because the Pandavas had this agreement amongst themselves that if any of them, because they were all married to the same girl, Draupadi, so if any of them walked in while one of their brothers was with Draupadi, that person would have to go on exile and actually take a vow of brahmachari life, which Arjuna did not do too well. So Krishna had arranged that Arjuna, because there was some stealing of some cows, and Arjuna had to retrieve the weapons which were with Yudhisthira, and Yudhisthira was with Draupadi at that particular time, that Arjuna had to go in and to Yudhisthira's room while he was with Draupadi. So, anyway, so Krishna, this is all Krishna's arrangement. Krishna plans things out, very, very intricately. So what happened is that Arjuna's on pilgrimage, and of course, on pilgrimage, he had several other encounters with ladies like Ulupi and others. So eventually, dressed in the garb of a renunciate, he goes to Dwarka. And while he's in Dwarka, Krishna wants him just to keep his real identity undercover. And Krishna arranges that Balaram would invite Arjuna for prasadam. And the whole family was there, Subhadra and everything like that. So Arjuna, this is described in the Krishna book, in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. So Arjuna is sitting there at the dinner table, and there's Subhadra, and he's, as a sannyasi or renunciate, he's making eyes at Subhadra. And Balaram is just like, this is definitely Krishna's Yoga Maya, because Balaram's not even noticing it. I mean, I would definitely notice it. If I was sitting at a dinner table and one of my guests was making eyes at one of my disciples, like, especially, one of my sannyasi, my sannyasi friends, said, Prabhu, are you having some spiritual trouble here? So you see that Balaram was actually even covered by Yogamaya by Krishna's will. So what happened is that he kept making eyes at her, and eventually he was able to kidnap her In fact, actually, Prabhupada comments that she drove the chariot. And Balaram was so angry, he was ready, calling all of his soldiers, ready to basically capture Arjuna. And Krishna had to intercede. So here you see that Krishna is actually not following his elder brother's directions. Many cases like this. And of course, in the final battle between Duryodhana and Bhimsen, Krishna is actually telling Bhimsen, but indirectly by patting his thigh, by telling Bhimsen or letting Bhimsen know how to kill Duryodhana by hitting him below the belt or below, on the thigh. And Balaram is completely opposed to that. And Balaram is getting ready after that to kill Bhimsen. Who said, you've done this unfairly, so you should fight with me instead. We'll see who's going to win. And so Krishna has to intercede at that particular point. So here you see this difference in mood. So we're going to tell some other stories about Balaram here that we've written down. So there's the story of Balaram's marriage, his marriage to Revati. So once upon a time, there was a great king, this is a story from the Bhagavatam, named Revata. It's described he had 100 sons. And one of his sons, the oldest, was named Kukudmi. Kukudmi had a daughter named Revati, and Kukudmi could not find a husband for his daughter. So what he did is he went to Lord Brahma in Brahmaloka to try to find the husband, and while he was waiting to see Lord Brahma, Lord Brahma was having a musical performance. It was actually many, many yugas on the earth planet, because we know the time difference between the heavenly planets, and specifically Brahmaloka and the earth planet, is immense. Like there's that story when Lord Brahma stole the cows and the calves and the cowherd boys, then he just waited basically a moment or an instant, and then it was a whole year on the earth planet. So what happened with Kukudmi, he was there, and it was a whole many yuga cycles. And when he asked Lord Brahma, please find a good husband for my daughter, Lord Brahma started to laugh at him. And he said, everybody who knew them, they're all dead, and nobody even remembers their names. So if you hurry down to the earth planet right away, then you will find Balaram, and she could marry Balaram. So that was Balaram's wife, and that was arranged by Lord Brahma. Then there's the appearance of Lord Balaram, which is actually quite an esoteric story. Generally, we understand that Balaram, we hear that Balaram was transferred from Devaki's womb to Rohini's womb, right? Rohini was one of the other wives of Vasudeva. But the Acharyas explain the story in a little bit different way. And the reason for this is that Balaram also expands himself when he's outside of Vrindavan. Like Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Did you know that? So when we hear about Krishna outside of Vrindavan, that's also Krishna, but it's Vasudeva Krishna. Even when Krishna kills the demons in Vrindavan, that's Vasudeva Krishna. But Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Goloka evanivashiti akilatma bhuta. Krishna is everywhere, but he never leaves Vrindavan. So in the same way, Krishna's first expansion, Balaram, in Vrindavan, doesn't leave Vrindavan. Interesting, isn't it? So just like Krishna, okay, let's talk about Krishna's birth right now. So Krishna this is explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, little esoteric information, and try to hear it. Krishna actually was born from Yashodamai, along with a girl who was Yogamaya, who later appeared as Durga to Kamsa. So, in other words, Yashodamai had two children. And so, Krishna's expansion, we'll get to Balaram in a second, don't worry. Krishna's expansion, Vasudeva Krishna, appeared from Devaki. So when Vasudeva, you can close it. When Vasudeva, hear how I'm pronouncing that word differently? Vasudeva. So when Vasudeva, Krishna's father in Mathura, transported Vasudeva, listen carefully to the pronunciation, transported Vasudeva Krishna to Vrindavan, Vasudeva Krishna actually entered, you don't want to, sometimes they use the word merge, but anyway, I'm against merging. So, entered into Nandanandana, or Yashodanandana, because Vasudeva Krishna is expansion of Yashodanandana. Got it? So similarly, and so anyway, so then Vasudeva brought back the daughter. Got it? So in the same way, Rohini actually had Balaram as her son. Balaram, let's, for lack of better words, Balaram, Vrindavan Balaram. Braj Balaram. Okay, how about that? Braj Balaram. And we have Devaki having the expansion of Balaram. Balaram outside of Vrindavan. I mean, I don't know the exact terminology, how you would explain that. And that expansion actually entered into the Balaram in Rohini's womb in Vrindavan. Very, very interesting story. So it's told. This story is told by the acharyas because it's our Siddhanta that actually Balaram and Krishna, Balaram in Vrindavan and Krishna in Vrindavan, never leave Vrindavan. Sometimes they're manifest, and sometimes aprakat. They're not manifest. So even today, if you go to Vrindavan, you can experience the presence there of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Balaram and Krishna, even today. Now, I'm not saying you're going to see them, but you will feel their presence. And sometimes they make up stories in Vrindavan that if you go into Seva Kunj and you stay there at night, you'll see Krishna dancing with the gopis. No. What you'll see is a bunch of monkeys tearing you apart. So Balaram, okay, more about Balaram, his ontological position. Balaram is the original spiritual master. There's an interesting statement, Naimatma Bala Hinena Labba, that without the mercy of Balaram, no one makes any spiritual advancement. Just like the name Balaram, everybody knows that means Bala, strength, Ram. So generally you're thinking, well, that just means he got to kill all these nice demons, like Columbus or Balvala, which we can talk about in a second. But actually, as far as we're concerned, it means spiritual strength. Spiritual strength and spiritual pleasure. And also, Ram means to give pleasure to others. So one worships Balaram as the original guru to help us get rid of certain anarthas. Now, we mentioned these demons before, like Palambasura, Dinakasura. These demons represent certain anarthas. For example, this Dinakasura, he represents the anarthas of thinking himself as the proprietor. And Palambasura, he represents the, lust, like that. So Balaram is the original spiritual master. When he kills these demons, he's indicating that we take shelter of the spiritual master, but by following the spiritual master's directions. Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments that the demons specifically killed by Balaram indicate the anarthas that we have to personally struggle with under the direction of the spiritual master. So Balaram, being the original spiritual master, of course, Lord Nityananda also, we take shelter of Balaram and pray to him in this particular way. Other stories of Balaram that we have noted here is, this is a very interesting story about how when Krishna was kidnapping Rukmini, Rukmi, her brother, was chasing after Krishna to try to rescue his sister from Krishna. It's interesting. And so, of course, Krishna was able to handily defeat Rukmi, and he had him down on the ground, and Rukmini was afraid that Krishna was going to kill Rukmi, her brother, and she begged Krishna to forgive him, and then Krishna gave him a very nice haircut, just cutting off part of his hair and leaving other parts of his hair. And Balaram came, and he saw this, and he chastised Krishna. He said, he's our relative. You shouldn't do this to our relative. So, in other words, he was protecting Rukmi in the beginning. But then later on, Rukmini's grandson, that's Krishna's grandson, Aniruddha, was getting married to Rukmi's granddaughter, Rochana. And this marriage ceremony was held in a place called Bojit Kata. And at this particular place, the Kshatriyas, they were engaged in all sorts of games of chance. And so Rukmi challenged Balaram to a chess game. And Rukmi had his friends there, like the king of Kalinga and others. And this king of Kalinga was actually showing his teeth all the time during this chess match. And it's described that Balaram was not very expert in playing chess, but still, he was betting, and he was betting 100 coins, 1,000 coins, 10,000 coins. And at a particular point, he was losing. But then he bet like 100,000 coins, and he won. And Rukmini declared victory in spite of Balaram having won this particular match. And what happened is Balaram got eventually angry. Oh, actually, he challenged first with 100 million coins. He got very, very angry, and there was a voice from the skies saying that Balaram had won. And Balaram got angry because he was being cheated, and then he killed, with his club, he killed Rukmi. So first he was protecting Rukmi, and then he killed him. And he also got very angry at the king of Kalinga and gave him a dental appointment, a teeth extraction. And, when Balaram got angry, and then he took his club and he broke all the legs and arms of the opposing soldiers. Wow. So he really was strong in many different ways and also gets angry with the rascals. Another time he got angry was the story of Dvidvita Gorilla. Dvidvita Gorilla was actually a devotee of Lord Ram, along with his friend Minda. And they helped Lord Ram. If you read the Ramayana, you'll read about Dvidvita Gorilla. And they helped Lord Ram in rescuing Sita Devi. So what happened is that they had, even though they were devotees, this is a lesson for us, they had bad association. As Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said when he was asked about the quality of a Vaishnava, he said, a satsanga chag, a Vaishnava char. One of the first qualities of a Vaishnava is to give up what? A satsanga. Because by bad association, a devotee can take on demoniac qualities. And by good association, a demon can take on godly qualities. So this Dvidvita was associating with Boma, who also was good from his birth because Boma is Krishna's son. So he was associating with Boma, who later on became Bomasura, and Dvidvita took on bad qualities. The reason he took up bad association, Dvidvita that is, was because he had offended Lakshman. By offending Lakshman or by offending devotees, one seeks bad association. One loses one's taste for good association and for chanting and for other aspects of devotional service. So Dvidvita took up bad association, and he used to harass people all over India, but especially around Dwarka. Now, Balaram, this is not a story of Balaram's dancing with the gopis in Vrindavan, but Balaram was having other dances with other girls in Dwarka. I'm not saying this was a rasa dance. That's not what I'm saying. Because they were actually interesting interactions between men and women, even in Dwarka. So Balaram was dancing with these girls on the Raivataka Mountains, which is right outside of Dwarka. Anyone's been there? Raivataka? Yeah, right outside of Dwarka. So Balaram was dancing with, and Dvidvita, he decided to harass Balaram, who is Lakshman. And so he decided to disturb this by doing different things. First of all, he would reveal certain parts of his body which were inappropriate. And he was always chanting, I guess it sounds like banana, banana, Kela, Kela. I was always wondering what that meant until I learned it. Then Hindi, means banana, right? So he was sometimes grabbing the clothes of the girls, and not these girls, but previously he had actually raped girls. And so Balaram just killed this particular rascal. And this particular rascal got liberated. Another interesting story, actually it's 6 o'clock already, so we'll just tell a few more stories about Balaram. Happened during Balaram's visit to Hastinapur. One time, there was Samba, who was one of Krishna's sons, and he was actually a very, very naughty son. He was a mother's child, a mother's boy. So Samba had actually kidnapped Duryodhana's daughter, Lakshmana. And so he was arrested and held unfairly by the Kurus. I mean, they should have been proud. Krishna's son, is going to marry my daughter. This is fantastic. But this is the martial mood. So Narada carried the news to Ugrasena, and the Yadus prepared to fight, but Balaram said, no. I'm going to make peace between both of these parties. So I'm going there as a messenger of peace. So he goes to Hastinapur, and the Kurus get very, very angry and say that you're like the feet giving instructions to the head. Now, for those of you who understand Vedic culture, the feet, if you call someone the feet or you touch your feet to someone, it's a great insult. I know in certain places that if you really want to insult someone, you throw your shoe at them. So they were saying, you're just like the feet, and you actually borrowed your royal insignia from us. And he got so angry, Balaram got so angry, he grabbed his plow and started to drag the Yamuna River. Actually, I think it was the Ganges. Yeah, the Ganges. Was it the Yamuna or the Ganges? Yeah, the Ganges. It was the Ganges. Some acharyas say Ganges, some acharyas say Yamuna. Yeah, anyway. So I remember there have been both versions of the story I've read. So they started to drag the river drag the city into the river. And there were like earthquakes. Whoops, your phone. And there were earthquakes everywhere. Later on, they apologized, of course, and they allowed Samba to get married to Lakshmana. So these are some of the stories about Balaram. Let's see. Anything else I wanted to add here? What's that? Yeah, that pastime I need to tell. This was the Ganges. This is the Ganges, because the Ganges went by Hastinapur. And then, of course, thank you for reminding me of this last pastime, which we'll tell. This is the pastime, of course, of Balaram dancing with his gopis. This is when Balaram visited Vrindavan to try to assuage the pain that the residents of Vrindavan were feeling in separation from Krishna. So Balaram spent some time talking about Krishna's activities and consoling all the residents of Vrindavan. And Balaram had his own group of gopis. These are not the same gopis that Krishna danced with. So Balaram was dancing with the gopis, and he was taking some form of intoxication called varuni, which is like the sap that comes from the tree, or sometimes we try to emulate that with honey. We call that varuni beverage. So Balaram was drinking this with the gopis, and they were all getting intoxicated. So even in the spiritual world, there is intoxication. But that intoxication is not like the intoxication of this world, which is based upon ignorance. That intoxication is bliss in the spiritual world. Even there's stories about Krishna drinking honey wine and then getting so intoxicated, they took the glass and he poured the honey wine into the wrong side of the glass and it spilled up all over the place. So everything we have here, according to the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, which describes this material world like a banyan tree that's upside down, which with its roots going up and its branches going down. Everything we have here is actually originally present in the spiritual world in its original pure Satchidananda form. So anyway, so they were taking this honey wine. Balaram was so inebriated that he called the Jamuna because he wanted to go bathing in the Jamuna. And the Jamuna thought, he's just intoxicated. She didn't want to come near. And Balaram took his plow again, and he was scratching the Jamuna. And Prabhupada comments that today, even to this very day, we can see the different branches of the Jamuna that are scratched in this particular location. And anyone who's gone there has seen that the Jamuna is actually multi-branched at this particular location. So these are some stories about Balaram, and today we are worshiping Balaram as the original spiritual master, praying to Balaram to give us some mercy, some compassion, and allow us to be engaged in Krishna's service. Okay, so thank you very much. So we are ready with the Abhishek. Yeah, questions. Yeah. Those are the anarthas we have to work out. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Are other anarthas just going to disappear? Like, let's go through the different categories of anarthas: kama, krodha, madamatsarya, varya, bhaya. That means lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, fear. Uh, Actually, we need Balaram's help with all of them. But sometimes it's described, those specific ones are sometimes described as specific, especially in relationship with Balaram. You know, like Dhanakasura, for example, protecting his tall trees, thinking they're mine. Many of us, we have different possessions or things we control, and we think they're mine. We don't want anyone to take them or intrude upon them. Or if someone comes to our house and they want some prasadam, we shut the door in their face. Of course, this Vedic system means that Titi Narayan, if someone comes, you're supposed to treat them just like Narayan. So that's Dhanakasura. And so basically, these anarthas are specifically pointed out by the acharyas as things that we go to Balaram for. Now, I would say we should go to Balaram for all of our anarthas, and we have to work on all of them. It's not that you're just sitting there one day and your anarthas disappear. What we find in the Upadesha Amrita is Vacho Vegam, Manasakrodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Pashta Vegam. One has to learn how to tolerate these things. That's how you work on them. Not that, one day you wake up, hey, there's no more lust. There's no more greed. There's no more illusion. No, we're supposed to be on the platform of buddhi. The buddhi means intelligence. Buddhi comes from the instructions, guidance of the spiritual master and Vedic literatures. So, anyway, good question. Yeah. That was Krishna's Yogamaya. We find that in many instances, Balaram is not aware what Krishna is doing. And I'll give you an example of that. There's the story of when Lord Brahma stole the calves and cowherd boys, right? And that particular incident occurred, the stealing at least occurred, when Balaram was not around, because it was his birthday. It was today. Well, not today, but it was the same day as today, during a different year. So it was Balaram's birthday, so Balaram wasn't around. And so for a whole year, he didn't understand what was happening. And he's God. So even Balaram can be covered by Krishna's Yogamaya for a specific purpose. So this whole orchestrated story of Arjuna kidnapping Subhadra was orchestrated from many different angles of vision, even the angle of vision of Balaram, not being aware. Because Krishna wanted to do this in a very spicy way. I mean, Krishna could have arranged that Balaram would say to Duryodhana, he could have done this, would say to Duryodhana, Subhadra's not married to you, she's going to Arjuna. Krishna could have arranged that, but Krishna specifically arranged through his Yogamaya potency. And this is so mysterious and amazing that even though Balaram is non-different from Krishna, he was unaware what Krishna was doing. That's amazing, isn't it? how even the same person is not aware of what he's doing. He is aware and he's not aware. In one aspect, he's completely aware. Krishna is completely aware. In another aspect, he's not aware. So it took a whole year, and then after the year, when Balaram saw that the cows were jumping down Govardhan Hill to see their older calves, he thought, something's happening here, Krishna. So in other words, Krishna arranged that apparently he was favoring Duryodhana. And actually, Balaram didn't want the fight to occur between the Pandavas and the Kurus. In fact, when the battle was declared, of course, this is another story. When it was seen that there was going to be the battle, Balaram went on pilgrimage. And during that pilgrimage, it's a very interesting story. When he went on pilgrimage, one of the first things he did is he went to Naimisharanya, where the sages were there. And then there was this one sage named Romaharshana Sutta. And Romaharshana Sutta was giving the Bhagavatam class. And Balaram walks in on the Bhagavatam class, and Romaharshana Sutta, he thinks, I'm sitting on the Vyasasana. I don't have to get up for anybody. Be like if I'm sitting here and Balaram walks in the room. I'll say, just sit down. But wait till after class, Balaram. So Balaram walks in, and then Balaram thinks, this guy's unqualified, and he kills him with a piece of kusha grass. And the sages get very upset. Now, you got to atone for this. Here's Balaram, and you have to atone for killing this person because we actually blessed him with having a long life. And so, how should I atone? Well, you can atone two ways. One is you get rid of this demon, Balvala. Balvala was harassing the sages as they were conducting Bhagavatam class. And then you should go on pilgrimage. So he actually went on pilgrimage for a whole year, all over India. And at the end of pilgrimage is when he came back and he found that Duryodhana and Bhimsen were fighting with each other. And that's when Krishna, we mentioned before, Krishna motioned to Bhimsen, smash him below the belt. And Balaram was getting ready to kill Bhimsen when Bhimsen actually did that to Duryodhana and smashed his thigh. So you actually see these, differences of opinion. And this is for the sake of ras. The Lord enjoys this ras. It's hard to imagine us having a relationship with ourselves with different opinions, having an argument with ourselves. It's hard to imagine. I guess we could figure out how to do that, but Krishna's able to do that. Okay, yes. Pariksha Priya, yeah. 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 Yes, because the reason is he's an acharya. Acharya means two things. There's pracha and achar. You understand? Pracha means what he's speaking, but there's achar, which means his behavior. So by his behavior, he showed his prachar. He wasn't qualified to speak. You understand? By his behavior, he showed he wasn't qualified to speak, and he had to be removed. Incidentally, there's another thing that, at the end of this particular pastime, the sages said that we've given him a benediction of having a long life. What should we do? So it was decided that Ramaharshana's son, Sutta Goswami, would take over. Now, the interesting thing about Sutta Goswami and Ramaharshana is they're both from mixed family. It means a higher class Brahmin mother and a lower class father, so which is called pratilom. So it's a Sutta family. And the interesting thing is that in spite of coming from a family which would be technically indicate someone would be unqualified to be a Brahmin, they were both respected as Brahmanas because of their knowledge and practice of Krishna consciousness. So kiva vipra kiva nyashi shudra kenana ye Krishna tattva veta say guru hoy. So, any other questions? No? It's all right. So we ready? Okay, all glories to his divine grace of the Prabhupada. Lord Balaram ki jai. Balaram Purnima ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So first of all, let's express our gratitude to His Honorable Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj for such a wonderful class on Balaram Purnima filled with tattva and also explaining that Vasudev tattva so clearly. It was like something that's always, one point that we think about, and also filled with so many wonderful pastimes. So let's express our gratitude to His Honorable Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Hariva! His Honorable Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki. Thank you everyone for joining us on this very, very auspicious day. Shri Balaram ji ki. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki. Shri Radha